everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Black Helicopter Radio. My name is Ed Walker. You are listening to the September 21st broadcast. Today I have the guest Chris White, who many of you may know from his YouTube videos. I mean, he has quite a few. I was just at his channel, and man, they're just everywhere. It's Nowhere to Run 1984. He's also been featured in some documentaries like Aquarius: Age of Evil, which if any of you have not seen that, that is such an epic documentary. They go into theosophy, they talk about zeitgeist, they talk about 2012. I mean, really, it covers so many things. It goes into the Bavarian Illuminati, and actually, they sell that at houroftheTime.com, which many of you know is the radio show that Bill Cooper used to host, Hour of the Time. So check it out there. So yeah, I have Chris with me today. I sent him an email and yeah, and the way that the videos that really got to me, as many of you know, I used to have experiences with sleep paralysis, and actually, me and Jeff did several shows on this. And the issue of sleep paralysis, I never really knew that many other people experienced it till I saw he has a documentary on his site about all about sleep paralysis, and it has countless people going into their experiences, which were just eerily similar to mine. And then not only that, he talks about how to stop sleep paralysis. So that info, I mean, was directly empirical. I mean, I was going through sleep paralysis, and I was able to make it stop with things that he recommended. So if any of you are going through that, I'd recommend checking that out. So with that being said, I'll just go straight to Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Hey Ed, what's up, man? It's really cool to be on here. This is sure to be a good time. It was actually perfect timing too, so I'm glad it all worked out. It's about sleep paralysis too. A good resource for a lot of that stuff is a website we just put up with my former roommate. I just got married here a few weeks ago, named Mike Tater, and we call it stopsleepparalysis.org. And it's just got a lot of information. It's got some of those videos that you referenced on there as well.
Yep, yeah, we actually on one of the broadcasts we went through all the causes of sleep paralysis. Me and Jeff and I, and yeah, we mentioned that website. That is I actually oh, this is funny, just a little story. My brother saw a comment because I told him about my radio show, and he saw a comment I left mentioning sleep paralysis to someone, and he never even knew the term sleep paralysis, but I guess it's been going on in my family for a while. He knew instantly what I meant by sleep paralysis. So yeah, stop sleep paralysis. You said it was .org.
Yeah, yeah, .org. And I tell you, man, it's so interesting that that's the truth. I mean, not everybody knows what it is, but a lot of people are experiencing it, and they really think it's like, something that they don't can't really discuss with a lot of people, but it's really serious, and it's something that people want to figure out how to stop. So it ended up being just a really amazing thing to see how many people were writing in and commenting obviously on the videos and YouTube and things like that. But I was just amazed at how big it really was, and certainly there's a lot of discussion going on about it. So it's forced us both, Mike and I, to learn a great deal more of it, and especially with dealing with the sleep paralysis emails, maybe get probably one or two every few days, and so you get to sort of build up like this. One experience after another, you start to sort of compare and contrast. So, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on, what it is and what people's situations are and stuff like that. So if anybody is experiencing that out there, they can also email me if they would like. But yeah, okay.
No, I mean that's awesome. I watched actually the lecture Sleep Paralysis: A Modern Connection to an Ancient Evil. How did you first hear about it? Did you experience it yourself?
No, I didn't. One of the things that originally I found, and that was Mike on that video, by the way, but he, I had heard about it a long time ago when I first figured out about some of the people like Joe Jordan. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He's an individual that had repeatability with the UFO culture. He was an individual that was really into documenting UFOs. He's head of the MUFON in his area, where they, for whatever UFO thing is, they're at least trying to be pretty scientific about it. They go out to people, they interview, they just write down what they say, and they go back and hand in the paper type thing. It's just trying to gather information. Over time, this is kind of like the 70s, 80s with Joe Jordan. He stumbled across a lot of the stuff about alien abductions and certain people having alien abductions, and ultimately that became a pretty big interest in trying to figure out more about that. He found one person that had said that they had stopped it, which was interesting because all these people wanted it to stop. It was very I wouldn't say dangerous. It was horrible. It was like torture. And they all wanted it to go away, but it was something that kept happening night after night. They would be taken and things like that. And so the UFO community, if you will, knew about these stories. They were very similar. The things that were happening were very similar for the most part. And here is a guy that found out one person that could stop it, and subsequently he found other people that were able to stop it as well. He brought all this information to some of the big people in the UFO community, and they said, "Yeah, we have cases like that too, but we're not going to talk about them because essentially it would taint their careers as UFO whatever's big people in the UFO industry." And that's essentially the exact same thing that stops sleep paralysis experiences, which is calling out to Jesus Christ, and that was stopping these abductions in their tracks. I mean, these things were getting flung up against the walls and things like that. Anyway, so it was through that I started to realize that the sleep paralysis thing was similar. And then it just it went from there, and realizing that was a lot of people were experiencing probably sleep paralysis a great deal more than they were experiencing alien abduction. In my personal opinion, they're very, very close to the same thing. But there's some weird stuff going on with alien abduction that I think is rare, and sometimes has very interesting connections sometimes to some odd things that you wouldn't expect, like the military and other things. But I think generally speaking, people have alien abductions as if you will, a more advanced type of sleep paralysis. You said you went through some of the causes of sleep paralysis. Some of the most common stuff that people I deal with have it is because they're into the occult in some high level or whatever. But what I found is that as people get seriously into the occult and very given over to it, and their will is just given over to doing whatever these entities are doing, they're into channeling entities or whatever it may be. That kind of level of occultism often will manifest in a more direct type of control that these entities have over them. And because it is a big mind game, you may have noticed with the sleep paralysis thing that they will appear as different things sometimes. And they have the ability, as the Bible says, to appear as different, as angels of light if they want to. But so they manifest to some people as aliens. And the alien experience, when people are up in the craft and all these things, consistently, this was the part that I just was blown away about, is that it was consistent, that it was talking about, you don't need Jesus. He was just a regular guy, and all these different things. And so the backstory was, they've come, from millions and millions of miles to badmouth one particular religion.
Yeah.
But it's just weird. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna back you up. I mean, why? Okay, if they were, if they're such advanced beings, why would they just want to be collecting sperm samples? Why would they be torturing people? Why would they espouse all these anti-Christian beliefs? And also, sleep paralysis. A lot of times, and people in the comments and stuff on YouTube will say, "Oh, sleep paralysis is a well-known scientific phenomenon." And I'll be okay. Well, then how come all of these people are describing the same entities? We have the old hag, we have shadow figures, we have aliens, and throughout different cultures. Why has it been going on so long? Why does it stop? And I can say this from firsthand experience. I mean, this is me. I mean, this is coming from the horse's mouth. I had serious issues with sleep paralysis. Why does it stop when you call on the name of God and Jesus Christ? I mean, it's academia and in the mainstream scientific establishment, they'll just blow any of that off and say, "Oh, that's mythology." They like to say it's all these other causes, everything but the obvious, which is what you're pointing out right now.
Right. And two things they might say from the academic perspective is that, well, if you call on Jesus, it's just because that's the form that you trust or something, some variation of that. Well, it would be the same effect if you called on Krishna or whatever, depending on what your paradigm was. But that is not what we see. We don't see people reporting that. We don't see that helping. It doesn't seem to have any effect whatsoever. In fact, most of the people that end up getting out of this, they were not Christians beforehand. All these experiences that you can read, this was something that given to them in a split second. Call in the name of Jesus. They're like, what? They weren't Christians or whatever. But what's interesting is a lot of times the experience will stop immediately, regardless if the person is a Christian or not. if they pray and genuinely ask Jesus to help them, they will. He will. But interestingly, it doesn't necessarily go away. They'll keep coming back, is what I'm saying, until those doorways, whatever it was that was causing it in the first place, was closed off. Uh, Not every time. Sometimes it is one and done type thing. But the other thing the academics might say is that just like you said, it's a dream state that is, you're right in between sleeping and dreaming, and you're in this level where you're kind of hallucinating but still awake. And the issue with that, I think, is, as you pointed out, not only are these people seeing the same things, but if it was just merely dreaming while awake, is essentially what they're saying, then it would be more diverse. If you even go to, like, I think it's might still be on Wikipedia or whatever on what sleep paralysis is, it's characterized by a feeling of intense evil in the room.
Yep.
And I don't know how many dreams you have, that are all about feelings of intense evil in the room. It's not a very common dream that I have, and I would imagine not a lot of, what I'm saying is that it obviously wouldn't be a consistent theme of evil in the room. Even if people don't see anything, usually a first sleep paralysis experience might even be very mild like that, where they just sense that something evil is there and it's very tangible and real, and then it only sort of later develops into, very, very visual. But it's very varied. I've seen just about every kind of variation of it that you can imagine, just from hearing people's experiences.
Yeah, man, it's actually really impressive to me you haven't experienced it because this, like I said, from firsthand experience, yeah, it started out with yeah, okay, so you kind of wake. It's usually happening when I was falling asleep or waking up, but my eyes would be open. I could move my eyes. I would have, yeah, that intense fear, but I wouldn't actually see anything. Yeah, it would just be intense fear, but then it gradually got worse and worse. Okay, and it would last longer and get hard and be harder and harder to snap out of. So eventually, when it got so absolutely scary, one time I had this happen to me, and this is totally legit. I have no reason to make this up. This is totally real what happened. I woke up with my eyes open, the intense fear, and then all these furry, demonic-looking hands started pulling me down, like they were pulling me through my bed, and um, and then so that's when I knew I had to look into it further and I had to figure out what was going on because I knew this was just way more than what the sign, just sleep paralysis, just some sleeping disorder like the scientists try to push. So that's when I found stuff on your information. And anyone who's listening to this might be thinking, "What is Ed talking about? He sounds weird." But this has happened to literally thousands and thousands of people. I think, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just going off the top of my head, but I think it was like 20% of people experience this. So chances are, if you haven't experienced it, I guarantee you someone you know has. And a lot of these things happen when I was really, really delving in to the alien abduction phenomenon. I watched the movie Fourth Kind, um, and man, yeah, I just can't. It's just really amazing to me when I saw your documentary on sleep paralysis. The fact that you haven't experienced it because it just sounded totally like it, but I guess you just gathered all this information from people who have.
Right. Yeah, it was just something that I felt like I needed to do. It just wasn't being done, and that's pretty much the story. And then I've kind of passed that on now to Mike. So that's pretty much his baby now, and he really has done a really excellent job with it. So if you contact stopsleepparalysis.org, that's who you're going to get. You're going to get Mike. And if you want to contact me for any reason, you could just do that through my website.
Yeah, that's it's all great stuff. And I mean, I really I like talking about it because it is. I mean, there's so much evidence of that. There's so much more to this existence than this material five senses world. I mean, there are forces of good and evil. I mean, we could go on forever just listing things that happen. But I mean, this is one that I've directly experienced, so I know a lot about it. Circle, I mean, I was going through sleep paralysis, and I was able to make it stop with things that he recommended. So if any of you are going through that, I'd recommend checking that out. So with that being said, I'll just go straight to Chris. How's it going, Chris?
Hey Ed, what's up, man? It's really cool to be on here. This is sure to be a good time. It was actually perfect timing too, so I'm glad it all worked out. It's about sleep paralysis too. A good resource for a lot of that stuff is a website. We just put up with my former roommate. I just got married here a few weeks ago.
The way that the videos that really got to me, as many of you know, I used to have experiences with sleep paralysis, and actually, me and Jeff did several shows on this. And the issue of sleep paralysis, I never really knew that many other people experienced it till I saw he has a documentary on his site about all about sleep paralysis, and it has countless people going into their experiences which were just eerily similar to mine. And then not only that, he talks about how to stop sleep paralysis. So that info, I mean, was directly empirical. Like Aquarius Age of Evil, which if any of you have not seen that, that is such an epic documentary. They go into theosophy, they talk about zeitgeist, they talk about 2012. I mean, really, it covers so many things. It goes into the Bavarian Illuminati, and actually they sell that at houroftheTime.com, which many of you know is the radio show that Bill Cooper used to host, Hour of the Time, so check it out there. So yeah, I have Chris with me today. I sent him an email and yeah, and hi everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Black Helicopter Radio. My name is Ed Walker. You are listening to the September 21st broadcast. Today I have the guest Chris White, who many of you may know from his YouTube videos. I mean, he has quite a few. I was just at his channel, and man, they're just everywhere. It's Nowhere to Run 1984. He's also been featured in some documentaries.